whole song, and nothing's ever good enough.
Okay, well, we are here once again in my living room, but today we have a special guest. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Kyler from the Muckrakers, Munoz stocking events, and yeah, that's what I do.
A multi-talented man for sure. First of all, let's talk about Muckrakers.
Okay.
One of the more powerful local bands right now. I wouldn't even consider you guys a local band. You guys aren't even around that much right now.
I mean,
You've
we
been touring.
we play locally, but like I try to only play like once a season here because, well, we have to be on the road doing other things.
Yeah, and that's also intelligent. You want to maximize your draw as well.
Yeah, I'm not like I feel like we draw pretty good, but like you just have to like be in the right mindset, and if you're always bouncing back between playing on the road and doing something locally, I would just want to like focus on it being something big.
Yeah.
Which kind of ties into the fact that we have like CKY this week. So
Yes.
like
That is.
yeah.
Tell me about how that came about and how excited are you for that show?
Well, that came about from a weird thing. I basically just got asked to play a lot of shows. It was like DRI, Harley Flanagan, Oakley to Oakley, Ramallah, all these touring shows, and some other local gigs, all in just like one day. And I wasn't able to do any of these gigs because I'm already on the road on the same exact days. So I was just like, I saw the CKY show about a month ago, and I just didn't do anything on it. And then I just asked to be on it, and then I got on it.
Perfect.
I was just like,
It
if
works out
I'm gonna be
perfectly.
here, like I should probably play something that's got hype around
It's
it.
bigger. And that is going to be, I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll probably have already passed.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Wednesday the 13th
Yeah,
at Revolution.
yeah,
And I will definitely be there. It's going to be a great time.
yeah.
Now, tell me about the album's off. Why is the album off? Will it be back on? The first one was a lot of fun. And I'm throwing a lot at you right now.
Well, album's off because the first album was almost off multiple times. Like we tried to start the Dirty Water, our debut album, multiple times, and between different drummers, different time periods, it just never really officially started. We started doing some recordings, but nothing that you heard on that was from those time periods with prior drummers. And it took until we lost our sixth drummer, and then we kind of collaborated.
Sixth drummer, you said?
Yeah, then we had to collaborate with the Schwam from New Jersey. We met that summer, and right after we had them headline that Munoz stock that they joined when it was still a house show, I called up their drummer, being like, "I need you to like help me record this," and he was like, "Why don't we just not just play drums, but do everything?" So we have the cameos and the fact that their from person Brandon. He recorded everything and stuff, and during the process, it was just a lot of craziness. Went through a breakup, and there was moments where like suicide attempts, where you just like go in and out in like hospitals, and just or someone was working on the recording stuff, just makes a big screw up, and they're just like, "Do we lose everything?" So like every time we would show up at the interview to actually record, sometimes it'd be like some completely like exaggerated problem, and we'd just be like, "Fuck, the album's off."
Jesus.
And then by the time we got to recording the EP, it was just like a no-brainer, because Dirty Water was also an inside joke, much less in depth, but basically in one of our recordings for our first jam, the drummer at the time was just like, my drum teacher wanted to make an EP and call it the Water EP, so like Water EP, and it's just like a stupid play on words. And then we're like, what if we make it Dirty Water EP, but then let's just take away the EP because now it's an album. And now it's just like this whole like metaphor for just being like Dirty Water is kind of like bad influences, and just like kind of like not just be like, I don't know, like bad music or something, just like stuff kind of corrupting people's mind, just making them stupid or something. It's like, and the muckraking is just like, don't listen to that, I guess. I mean, you could do whatever you want. That was just what I was thinking at the time.
Well, it's definitely a lot of fun. Now, tell me about the music video that you guys had recently put out and all of the fun well, it's not even recently at this point, but all the fun cameos that you had going on there, how those came about, the filming process for that.
So basically, when we had the EP, it's only 2.5 songs, and I was just like, well, we might as well have the 2 relationship songs together.
Yeah.
So that was easy. They were both in the same key, so we put Halloween Princess and Parasite together, and kind of brainstormed for maybe an hour about what to do with it, and then brought together with the guys at Voodoo and Tom Flynn, and thought about what was actually viable within all of our ideas collectively. And
So the video was shot by Tom Flynn.
yeah,
Great.
so we basically came up with some sort of storyline, had to cut some ideas that never went anywhere, like the guy being at work and whatever, like just miscellaneous things that didn't really affect anything because it was just such a fast-paced music video to begin with. And I guess the big focus was just the idea of toxic behavioral traits going from one relationship to another, and you kind of can go into something being one person and come out of it being a different person. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. In this case, it was always bad.
Yeah.
It's like the parasite going from one person to another. So, I guess it was kind of just autobiographical in my sense because I got screwed up. I wasn't that shitty, and then I became shitty. And then I might have screwed up someone else, and you see where it's going.
Yeah.
And now, since then, I'd like to think most people have matured. So
Of course. I mean, that's what time does. Progress. All of that. Well, it should be, at least.
yeah, it's funny because that's where the music's kind of went. Like I listen to Dirty Water, and I think like, oh my god, I was a teenager when I wrote this stuff, and I sound like a jerk or an idiot also. And then albums off, I'm like, wow, I was like hyper angry, and now like the stuff I wrote since then, I'm like, you can tell that it's sort of remorseful and then like matured. And where do you go from there? Because I don't have the same craziness vice to go with.
I mean, I would be concerned for you if you did. But tell me about the sonic influences from Dirty Water to the albums off. It's obviously very much a punk record, but you have a lot of really interesting metal influences, some interesting chord changes as well. I want to know where this comes from. What are the artists that influence you, and how does this interesting and unique sound that you've created come together?
Well, so 3 of the songs on the album aren't Muck songs, but they did become Muck songs. Actually, technically 4 because one's a cover. But Mood Setter, Blind, and She Loves Me were just things I did with my friend Jesse, like when we were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of became Muck because I was just like, I wrote it, so here we go.
Yeah.
Blind, my friend Jesse actually wrote the lyrics to Blind, and we just never did anything with it. He wrote it in like 5 minutes, and then we just made the song. And then since then, that's the only thing that remained the same. We rewrote all the instrument parts to like stand out differently. Like Blind's like one of those songs where it's like the riffs and the bass line just completely are independent, but they just gel very well, but they're not doing anything similar to each other. And then She Loves Me, I remember, this is like a weird story I never told on an interview, but like when we used to jam in high school, I used to get people who never did anything with music or probably even had no interest in doing anything together. And I was just like, you're playing guitar, you're playing drums, it's going to be loud, it's going to probably suck.
That's amazing. I did the same thing when I was in high school.
So we had Jesse on drums, I was on guitar, and then I had my friend Danny on vocals, and he was just friggin' screaming about what we were doing that day, and it was just nonsense, like how my friend Jesse was eating frozen waffles or like making concoctions with just weird gloop in the freaking fridge. And he was just screaming about that and then just other nonsense. And then that was just a jam called She Loves Me because he would always just go in this high pitch like, she loves me, whatever thing. And then, like, I don't know, like I guess a couple years later when Muck started getting ready to play shows, I just listened to the recordings and then I just wrote my lyrics over the rhythm of what he was saying and then made it sound completely different. So those have weird backstories, but otherwise, I don't know, like stuff from like what I wrote on Dirty Water. Some of it was just straight up trying to write a punk song like Lack of Medication, which is just the staple beginning of like all of our sets. And then In Vain was just like, let's go for some sort of death funk song that was like very rudimentary Peni, like, and Thrash Fusion was just a song that kind of cultivated in a jam, and then we had to workshop it after and like put in the key change, and like it kind of got different the more we had different drummers because the rhythms were, that's just like the heavy thing about it, not so much my riffs. I'm like very not that important compared to like the bass or like drums in that song. And Self-Loathing, on my hand, I wrote that intro bass line after I wrote like the other two riffs and bass lines for it, and I was just like, these all sound very cool, but like, what if I just put them all together? And like the first part, that thing, I just kind of like wrote everything over it. Like I had it looped, that I just started right over it, kind of through composed and everything. And I don't know, it kind of came together pretty quickly. And I don't know, when we put out the music video for that, people were just saying we sound like Primus, and I did not get it. But that seems to be the thing.
Yeah, well, people always want to compare you to other artists because it's familiar.
Yeah, but
it gives them something to feel comfortable about. But I think it's easier for other artists to like look at different people, like their contemporaries, and see where they're unique.
Yeah.
And of course, we all do take influences from other bands. That's never not gonna be a thing. Like being entertained is part of creating.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't liken you guys to any other punk act or any like fusion between punk genre act that I could think of, because there are different nuances that you do to make yourself stand out, which is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
To stand out.
Yeah.
And I think you guys do a great job of it. And speaking of things that stand out, the MSC events definitely do that.
Oh, yeah. That's... So, like, I guess a little bit of backstory as to what you're talking about to anyone who's watching this at this point is that we run a music festival called Munoz, and that kind of started a house show, but then it grew in popularity so much that we brought to other locations. Last year was at Station Sports.
Which was a great time, by the way.
Yeah.
I had
Ooblu
a
played.
fucking blast.
Yeah, and so it's always been about getting bands of all different types of genres together. Like, you name it, it was probably on it, more than likely. And then video games, live painters. This year also introduced mini golf, batting cages, paintball, a lot of food, vendors, seating, because it was outside, which is not likely a thing at any place usually. But because of the success of this past year, 2018, we were just like, we've already kind of sort of run a couple of our own shows, but like, what if we just did this like a Cobalt Company at the time, more like Blacklist. That was sort of more popular at the time. But so we just decided to make our own shows, and we took on some touring bands. And just before that, there was like Ford Theater Reunion with they're a Kentucky sludge funk circus punk band. And the moment I heard them, I was just like, I gotta
circus punk, like
the
Venetia Fair sort of circus punk. Like, I need to understand what this is.
To put some understanding on it, they have the regular guitar, drum, bass, but they also have accordion and piano and clarinet. Wow. And 3 vocalists. One's a girl that's got a very boisterous, but like sometimes she could become like a little girl with like the high pitched voice, but then she can also sing really well. And then like a guttural, like coal miner kind of vocalist, and then a guy who could scream over all the fucking instruments and then also sing very well. And they just have like a theater show basically going on, and we just packed out One Eye Jacks, and it was just like they were running all over the place. Call and response was nuts, and you know, these were like one of the smaller types of MSC shows that kind of come to be. I mean, when we do those, we just pack out a small spot. We have the TV and the information of the bands on it. But then you have other MSC shows where it's like Road to Munoz, Friendsgiving, and now in May we have the very first It's Your Birthday show. So basically, we'll have the bands playing relatively different music, and then video games. Like don't know what we're putting in, but we've either had
Smash Bros has been a bit of a staple of those things, though.
Smash Bros. I can't really say for certain, but for some reason they were trying to push Crazy Taxi this time.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Is that even a multiplayer game?
No, so I'm just like, we got to figure out what we're doing, and then it's usually arcade games or Smash Bros. Something mindless and kind of to the point. And we got the video games, the bands, and this time we're gonna decorate Brew House to kind of look like your kind of childhood birthday party with like weird stuff and
give everybody party hats.
Yeah, and like
streamers.
The moment you come in and you pay, because I could see this loophole happening. If like I didn't say after you pay, people would probably be like, but if it's everyone's birthday, then why do I have to pay? Because
don't be an asshole.
It's a fundraiser for the end of the year. You're like I'm trying to make it work. Like let's have fun and like pin a tail on a donkey, get piñatas, and just greet everyone like you care about each other. I don't know. And like that was what Friendsgiving was about too, despite any sort of issues that might have arisen that day because of, moshing that got out of hand.
Things happen.
But I think everyone came out of that being pretty cool.
Everybody be respectful when metal music is playing, please. You don't need to hit each other maliciously.
Yeah, just hit each other if you're going to hit each other.
Yeah, give each other a hug afterwards.
Yeah.
Pick each other up.
Don't make people bleed. Unless
and don't hit people's girlfriends. Come on. Crowd killing isn't fun, guys. I'd actually had a friend this week that was at like a Chelsea Grin show in the city, and he got like knocked the fuck out like by some crowd killer douchebag and missed the whole rest of the show, and felt terrible for that guy. Yeah,
I remember that Cal Decap video went a little viral, and like someone got stabbed at the show, and the entire show had a
fuck.
Yeah, that's happened on one of my shows too, but the show didn't end. I kind of left a little early, but it wasn't a Muck show. It was a Reluctant Warm show. I remember we were playing with Incantation. It was supposed to be in some basement in some place in Hempstead, but then it got moved because they were doing extermination. And then it moved into a Mexican restaurant across the street. And there was an actual quinceañera going on at the same time. And while my set was playing, apparently someone stabbed themselves, and I didn't know about it. But I saw pictures, and blood was just going all over the floor, and an ambulance came by. But yeah, that's the story. Shit like that happens sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. That's a wild one. I mean, I've seen people get hit pretty hard. I've never seen anybody get stabbed at a show.
Or stab themselves.
Jesus.
It's funny because, like, I've been in the death metal scene for a long time, and that was like...
You were in Reluctant Mortem.
Yeah.
Was, for all intents and purposes, a very, very heavy band.
I think we were heavy, but I feel like we were more evil and melodic than anything else. Like, one of our hit songs, for some reason, people will always be like, is this from, like, Nightmare Before Christmas? I'm like, what?
Interesting. I've actually never seen that movie. I know a lot of people are going to just scream, fuck you at that one. Never seen that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've never saw it through. I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, I'm not much of a movie buff. Before we wrap this sort of thing up, tell me about the rest of the bands that are going to be on the birthday show.
Yeah.
And what are the plans for Munoz stock this year?
All right. So, it's your birthday. This is not the next local gig, by the way, but I don't even know when this is coming out. But for this next bigger, stocking event, we have obviously the Muckrakers, Trogenous. They're like melodic, progressive metal, very good singing, very theatrical vocals. Big Damn Octopus. I kind of you consider them like post-hardcore, or
I would,
I haven't seen them in like a year.
For me, they strike like the perfect balance between like they have a vocalist that is very dynamic and can hit very high notes, but their music is very fucking aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't want to compare them to anybody, but they have like that glass jaw aggression with beautiful Circa Survive vocals. I guess you could call them post-hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember when I saw them the first time, that's what they were coined as.
Yeah.
Big Damn Octopus, then Karma Versa, which we were just talking about just beforehand. Their energy is just like off the wall.
Yeah, some of my best friends. Love those guys.
And we got Path We Choose opening up the night,
Ooh.
which I remember the first time I saw them, I saw them 3 times in a row, and it was just like, how the hell am I seeing you this many times? It was like at East Islip, the bowling alley, and then saw some of them at Rams at Holbrook, and then at the very end of the weekend, we're at Revolution. I don't think they were playing. I think Jinx was playing.
Interesting.
And I just ended up seeing them so many times, and I've seen them so many times since then, coincidentally, even though I'm always on the road. So, I don't know. At some point, I was just like, you guys seem like you guys should be on a show with us. So,
Great.
I threw them on there. So, there's that. But otherwise, that's the end of that lineup. But as far as Munoz stock goes, right now, nothing is really like super easy to talk about. It's like we've been waiting for like a giant like conversation meeting with our location. We're trying to get back at Station Sports. The most I can really say is it seems like probably green lighted on doing it again. I mean, it seemed like it was a no-brainer to do it again there after how fun everything seemed. And I've been just taking submissions for like all the bands because it gets a little cluttered otherwise.
Definitely.
So I've been taking everything at munozstockbooking@gmail.com. I haven't responded to anything yet because I just don't know what to do with anything yet. Because we need to get the location first.
Of course.
So if anyone watching that hears about it, that's where you go to munozstockbooking@gmail.com.
Great.
But otherwise, it's probably going to be very much like last year. Everything I already said earlier, just a lot of fun and outdoor stuff and just a lot of distractions. Smash Bros, sports stuff, mini golf.
Who is your
bands.
main in Smash Bros?
Well, before when we had it like whatever recently,
Melee is set up at
Melee is what was set up.
Yeah.
I never really got a main. I think I ended off playing Yoshi, but now I'm like I call myself Dunk Hunk, and I am King D.
Okay.
I haven't played in like 3 months, but I played on tour like two like right after the show in Rhode Island, and I was like making sure everyone knew. I played a couple tournaments and lost, but I won.
Perfect. And before we wrap this up, let everybody know where we can find you on your social medias, you personally, and Muckrakers.
Well, if you want to add me on Facebook, I'm Kyler Sane. It's not Tyler. It's not Kyle. It's Kyler Sane, like insane, but just sane. And then we're just the Muckrakers on Facebook. If you see the Muck Pup, just a white and black picture, that's us. And the Muckrakers LI is our Instagram. You can find us on Twitter, but we never ever use it, so don't bother.
Yeah, it's Twitter's whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's us.
Well, thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and can't wait to see you again.
Yeah.
I appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you.
Bye.
Screw it! You don't deserve a full song, and nothing's ever good enough.